Hello everybody, welcome to the Empressive channel. Drake is using AI to battle with Kendrick Lamar. Is this a good idea? I'll tell you my thoughts, but before I do, I first want to thank Babbel for sponsoring this video. Babbel is one of the leading language learning apps in the world. It is built by language learning experts and is scientifically proven to help you start speaking a new language in 3 weeks. There are so many reasons to learn a new language. You can use a new language to advance your career. You could challenge yourself to achieve a new life skill and feel more connected to the world. And Babbel is perfect for planning trips and exploring new places and cultures. It teaches you real-world communications, and its lessons prepare you to have practical conversations about travel, business, relationships, and more. Babbel offers so many languages, but I personally want to learn a little bit about French. So watch this. L'addition s'il vous plaît. That means, can I have the check, please? I'm working on it. And guess what? You can too. Spring is here and summer travels are just around the corner. With just 10 minutes a day, Babbel can help you speak like a local on the trip of a lifetime. And right now, when you use my link, you can get 60% off of your Babbel subscription. Thank you, Babbel, once again for sponsoring this video. Drake is currently using AI to troll Kendrick Lamar because Kendrick still hasn't responded to Drake's diss track Push-Ups. Now, I did do a whole breakdown on the whole beef between Drake and Kendrick and Future and Metro Boomin and even Rick Ross, and a lot has transpired since then. I mean, Rick Ross has been trolling the mess out of Drake, which I think is kind of funny because he's just as petty as his baby mama Tia Kemp.
Oh, it's such a beautiful day. Me waking up from a nap, I just realized BBL Drizzy called his mommy on me. He shared their text messages between each other. Cupcake Drake, tell your mama you stayed out past your curfew, white boy. You wanted to hang at the park with the niggas, smoke weed with the niggas while we washed our old school Chevys. White boy, you got a Chevy, white boy? I doubt it. But anyway, big nose. Big nose. Boy, you had 25% body fat with a carved out 6-piece. Stop. We know what time it is. That shit costs 40 bands.
Rick needs to stop. But anyway, Rick Ross is really a non-factor in this situation because Drake really wants smoke with Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick has been kind of puffing out his chest a little bit, saying that he's the best and saying that he's smoking on your top 5. And he came directly at Drake's neck in the song Like That in response to Drake and J. Cole's song First Person Shooter. And J. Cole did respond to Kendrick, but he retracted his diss. And a lot of people feel like Drake was going to cower a little bit because Kendrick does have this formidable energy about him. So they thought that Kendrick pretty much silenced Drake, but Drake was like, nah, I want the smoke. So he responded with his own diss track called Push-Ups, dropping Give Me 50. And since then, Drake has been hounding Kendrick to respond. He's been trolling Kendrick and his manager, and he's basically trying to call Kendrick's bluff because he feels like Kendrick has no response for him. He only stirred up this feud to have a moment and to be provocative and gain a little bit of clout. But Drake feels like Kendrick is running scared, and he's continuing to troll Kendrick, and he just recently dropped another diss track against him called Tailor Made, and he called it Tailor Made because he feels like Kendrick is intentionally pushing back his response because he's afraid to be outshined by Taylor Swift, who just dropped her album recently. So this is how Drake feels. He feels like Taylor made Kendrick delay his response. And I want to talk a little bit about Drake's diss track Tailor Made because he did the most petty thing, okay? He used an AI Tupac and an AI Snoop Dogg for this song, and in the song they were begging Kendrick to respond to Drake. And while I think the concept of this is funny, I do have an issue with the idea of somebody else's voice and likeness being used and transferred into this whole AI experiment. And that's exactly what it is. I'm starting to believe that this whole feud between Kendrick and Drake is going to be used as an AI experiment for these labels. Joe Budden was the first one who brought this up. And when I first heard him say that, I was like, I don't know about it, but that is an interesting conspiracy. At first, people thought Kendrick dropped 2 diss songs against Drake, but we later on found out that was created through AI. And now you see Drake using AI in his diss record, and he's using the voices of Snoop Dogg and Tupac to do it, which is crazy and disrespectful. But he's doing it, and it kind of makes me wonder if he's actually in cahoots with some of these labels to test out this whole AI thing.
AI stuff, don't kill me. I'm just a messenger here. I have it on good information that's just Drake.
Drake is doing that to them.
Drake is responsible for the Kendrick leaks, AI leaks.
That makes sense.
Drake and the bots. If my plan involved AI, I would want to test. I would run a very sophisticated test. And because I fired everybody, that means I need my big boy acts to be not only as big as they were, but even bigger now. How do I do that? I'm no politic genius, but I know that one thing war does besides get people killed is make some money.
Generate revenue. Mm-hmm.
Why would I not have the 3 biggest acts in the world just fight? They're all universal.
Mm-hmm. Good for business.
Great for business.
Mm-hmm.
Then I just start feeling like some type of pawn.
The more you look at this situation, the more you realize how spot on Joe Budden was. Joe Budden be knowing. He knows a lot of inside information. He knows. And he knows that these labels are going to eventually replace these artists with AI. The labels are trying to save money and maximize their profit. They're not trying to pay singers or rappers or songwriters or anybody. They rather keep the money in-house. So how do they do that? They do that by creating an artificial artist. And if you remember, they tried to test it out with this virtual rapper FN Mika, but people were not going for it because he used the N-word and he wasn't supposed to be black. So he got canceled. And so the industry was like, okay, people are not receptive to this whole idea of an AI artist. So we're just going to wait a little bit. And right now, I do think they recruited Drake as a pawn to go along with this whole scheme. You see, they're slowly introducing us and slowly getting us to accept the use of AI. And if Joe Budden is telling the truth about Drake being a part of this whole thing, Drake is a complete sellout. He's a complete sellout. He's promoting AI, which a lot of artists are against right now because their intellectual property is being used, their likeness, their image, their voices is all being used without their control. And they're going to be replaced by AI, which is why it's silly that Drake is promoting it, because he eventually will be replaced in the future as well. And now that I look at it, I think J. Cole backing away from this whole feud was really smart on his part. He said it didn't feel good in his spirit to come at Kendrick. And I now realize why. It's not because he's afraid to compete, but he's starting to see that he too was being used as a pawn to gain traction and streams for these labels. He doesn't have an issue with Kendrick. He actually respects him. But these labels love to see big artists like this get into a feud because this puts more money in their pockets. And now you have people like Drake using AI. And at this point, it's no longer hip hop. It's something else. It's something else. It's something more sinister. And I don't like the direction. And I definitely don't like Drake using Snoop Dogg and Tupac's voice in this whole battle. It's just messy. It really is. I know he did it to be funny, and it is funny. Don't get me wrong. It was funny when I was listening to it, but then I sat back and thought about it and said, wow, this is crazy. Now, Snoop Dogg reacted to his voice being used on this AI diss song, and he was acting completely clueless. Now, do I think he didn't know anything about this? I don't know. I think Drake tipped him off, gave him a little cash. Who knows? But if he knew about this, it would be kind of messed up too, because he allowed Drake to use him to come for his little nephew, Kendrick.
They did what? When? How? Are you sure? Y'all have a good night. And to all.
Why off?
Everybody calling my phone, blowing me up. What the fuck? What happened? What's going on? I'm going back to bed. Good night.
This whole situation, it's just a mess. It's a mess. And it kind of makes me not want Kendrick to respond now that I see this for what it is. But he eventually will respond, and he has to address this. But I think he should wait until he drops his album. It was rumored that his album is coming in May, so I do think that will be a perfect time to drop his response, because a lot of people will be tuning in, and also he will capitalize off of it. So I think that will be a good marketing strategy for him. But anyway, tell me what you all think about this video down below. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and share this video if you care. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.